Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
On News Hour tonight, Supreme Court dismisses PDP's suit challenging double nomination by Kashim Shettima. Government declare Monday work-free for workers as police deploy personnel to strategic locations, divert traffic in Abuja ahead of presidential inauguration. Indiscriminate drilling of borehole poses danger to residents of Kaduna State. And on the foreign scene, militant Al-Shabaab group attacks Ugandan troops based in Somalia. Hello and welcome to Trust TV's News Hour. I am Abdurrahman Omar. Thanks for joining. The Supreme Court has struck out a suit instituted by the opposition PDP seeking disqualification of the Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima for alleged double nomination. The party sought the disqualification Tinubu-Shettima joint ticket for the 2023 presidential election on account of double nomination contrary to the provision of Electoral Act 2022. Noel Samson reports that the judgment now clears the cost for the inauguration of President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima, slated to hold on Monday. The report.
The appeal was brought by the People's Democratic Party through their counsel, Mike Ozokome, SEN, alleging that Shettima had double nomination as senatorial candidate for Borno Central Senatorial District and vice president candidate under the All Progressive Congress. The Apex Court held that apart from the fact that the PDP lacked requisite jurisdiction to institute the suit, the party also failed to provide sufficient evidence against Shettima to prove its allegations.
The Supreme Court have dismissed our appeal, that we have no local standard, and that irrespective of the unlawfulness of what APC did, we are not members of APC and we cannot challenge it. Yes, well, this is the Supreme Court. We can't, like I told them in court, we can't appeal to God. We will stop here. We are bound by their judgment.
However, counsel to APC, Babatunde Ogala, SEN, expressed pleasure with the decision of the Apex Court.
I must commend the courts, the Supreme Court, and not just the Supreme Court, but all layers of court that this matter has gone through. You will notice that the court had said the issue ordinarily would have been settled on locus, but they went into it just to let the record straight and to make a policy and to send a message loud and clear to the whole world that this kind of frivolous actions will not be entertained by this court. The matter is settled. This is the highest court of the land. Shettima was validly nominated in full compliance with the provisions of the Electoral Law and the Electoral Act and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it has also been confirmed that he was indeed well and validly nominated.
Justice Adamu Jauro, who delivered the lead judgment, imposed a fine of 2 million naira on the PDP for interference into the internal affairs of the All Progressive Congress and the conduct of its primary elections and nomination of its candidate. Noel Samson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Atiku Abubakar, said the Supreme Court's dismissal of his party's suit against the All Progressives Congress (APC) will not discourage him from seeking justice. Atiku, who made this comment on Friday via his official Twitter page, said the party's legal team are primed to robustly prove that the election of February 25th was fraudulent, did not comply with the constitutional requirements and the electoral guidelines of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC). The PDP flag bearer added that the announced winner was not even qualified to contest the poll. The former vice president urged his supporters to exercise patience and conduct themselves peacefully as the party diligently conducts its litigation at the Presidential Election Tribunal. In the meantime, a federal high court in Abuja on Friday awarded a total sum of 17 million against 3 applicants and their lawyer in a suit seeking to stop the swearing-in of Senator Bola Tinubu on May 29 as Nigeria's democratic president. Justice James Omotosho, who ruled on the suit, described it as frivolous, vexatious, and an abuse of court processes, and held that the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain the matter, being a post-election matter which ought to have been filed at the appeal court. The judge said that a simple look at the Constitution would have shown where the suit ought to have been filed. The capacity of the plaintiffs, the time within which to file, same as the lawyer was aware, even by the contents of the original process. Justice Omotosho ruled that the applicants Praise Elemola Isaiah, Pastor Paul Isaac Audu, and Dr. Anungu Moses, who were neither candidates or members of a political party in the election that produced Tinubu as president-elect, lacked locus standi to institute the matter. In awarding the fines, the judge ordered that the applicants should pay 10 naira to Tinubu, 5 million to the All Progressives Congress, while their lawyer Daniel Elomba was directed to pay the sum of 1 million each to Tinubu and APC for filing a vexatious suit. Justice Omotosho also ruled that the applicants and the lawyer must pay 10% per annum on the sum until the fines were completely paid up. President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu joined President Muhammadu Buhari for the Jumat prayers at the State House Mosque, Abuja, Friday afternoon, as part of nationwide special prayers marking the inauguration of the incoming administration. President Buhari had invited Tinubu to join him for the prayers, his last at the State House Mosque before he hands over power and takes his final bow from office on Monday. At the well-attended prayer session at the National Mosque, President-elect Tinubu was represented by Vice President-elect Senator Kashim Shettima, represented the President-elect at the special Jumat prayer session as part of events lined up for their inauguration. A statement from office of the President-elect signed by Abdulaziz said after observing the prayers at the State House, Tinubu said he had come to join President Buhari to offer prayers to Almighty Allah to support him to carry out the task of governance successfully. He said he will drink from the fountain of knowledge and wisdom of the chief imam of the State House Mosque, Sheikh Abdul Wahid Abubakar Suleiman, who reminded leaders of the burden of trust in leadership. The events will climax on Monday, May 29, when the former Lagos governor takes the oath of office as the 16th president of Nigeria. President Muhammadu Buhari conducted the incoming President Bola Ahmed Tinubu around President's Office building and other affiliated offices on Friday afternoon. The incoming president was also shown the Executive Council chamber, tea room, the press gallery, and the State House banquet hall. The president-elect interacted freely with the president during the tour and acknowledged State House officials as they went around. The two leaders had observed the Jumu'at prayer at the State House Mosque, where the president-elect said he had prayed to God to give him strength, wisdom, and good health to run the affairs of the nation. Senator Tinubu urged Nigerians to support his renewed hope agenda, which aimed to revive Nigerians' economy, tackle security and poverty reduction, and what generally Nigerians should expect of him. This is one of the last official acts of President Buhari before he hands over to the incoming president on Monday. Ahead of the presidential inauguration scheduled to hold on May 29, the Federal Capital Territory Police Command says it has deployed human and material resources across the nooks and crannies of the territory to ensure that the event is safe and peaceful. A statement issued on Friday morning by the command spokesperson SP Josephine Ade said the deployment consisting of all intelligence and tactical assets at the command's disposal is solid solidified with interagency collaboration. The statement said the move was born out of the need to avert any form of threat on the nation's democratic process. According to the PPRO, the strategic operational deployment is characterized by visibility policing across the territory, stop and search duty, intelligence late raids on black spots, surveillance, vehicular foot patrol, and diversions at strategic points, namely. She said the Commissioner of Police FCT Command Haruna Garba equally alerted the residents of proposed fireworks scheduled to take place on the eve of the inauguration at the City Gate and the Millennium Tower to usher in the new administration. Borno State Governor Umar Zulum has dissolved the State Executive Council and boards of parastatals as well as disengaged other political appointees to mark the end of his first term in office. The governor, during a valedictory session with the cabinet in Maiduguri, appreciated cabinet for sacrifice, commitment, loyalty, and also seek for forgiveness for his hot-tempered approach and course of running the administration. He observed that the first term was challenging because of the insurgency, but expressed satisfaction with the administration agenda and efforts for the people of Borno State, whom he said the government enjoyed their support.
Under a very fragile environment, it's not easy. Working under this environment, it's not easy, especially during the year 2019, 2020, 2021. It has never been easy, battling with the insurgency. On this note, once again, I want to express my deep appreciation. And I'm a human being. In the course of discharging my duty as the Chief Executive of this state, I must have erred or offended some of you. And therefore, I do hope that you will forgive my shortcomings. On my own fact, I think it is well known for almost all of you. Yes, many can say I'm somebody who is hot-tempered. That's my nature and I cannot do otherwise. But again, I don't go to my bed keeping somebody in my heart or in my mind.
Meanwhile, Kaduna State Governor Nasuru El-Rufai has announced the disengagement of Yao Yunusa Tanko, a permanent secretary, Francis Koza, secretary of the Kaduna Enterprise Development Agency, Kadida, and Bello Zubairu Idris, the clerk of the Kaduna State House of Assembly, with immediate effect. His special advisor on media and communications, Muyiwa Adeleke, said this in a statement. The statement from Sir Kashim Ibrahim House disclosed that the governor has also accepted the retirement of Stephen Joseph, a permanent secretary in the state civil service. Ahead of the inauguration on Monday, the Kano State Governor-elect Abba Kabir Yusuf has declared his assets and liabilities in a completed form submitted on Friday to the Court of Conduct Bureau, CCB, Kano office. Abba, who was received by the CCB State Director, Hadiza Ibrahim, said his declaration of assets is a demonstration of transparency and accountability that will form the bedrock of the incoming administration in Kano State. A statement signed by Chief Press Secretary to the Governor-elect said Yusuf told the Bureau that public service is a calling and he is ready to serve, having won the confidence of people of Kano State. Abba declared that the coast is now clear for the journey of restoration of sustainable development in all the sectors, where every kobo of the public fund spent will not only be justifiable but accountable in Kano State under his watch. The statement is, however, silent on how much the governor-elect declared. Federal government has declared Monday, May 29, 2023 as a work-free day for all workers in the country. Minister of Interior Rauf Arebisola, in a statement on Friday signed by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry, Shoaib Belgore, said this is to commemorate the inauguration of the President-elect Bola Tinubu. The statement enjoined Nigerians to continue to support and promote democracy through adherence to the rule of law. The minister said democracy anywhere is an unfinished business, and the only way it can keep developing and serve its end of being the vehicle to good governance and the welfare of all the people is by adhering to its tenets of the rule of law, supporting democracy institutions, promotion of free and responsible press, and advancement of the frontiers of freedom for all the people. The statement urged Nigerians to support and cooperate with the incoming administration, saying that the energy of the people is the nation's greatest strength and will take the nation to its greatest height when it's positively deployed in its service. Indiscriminate drilling of boreholes without proper regulations is now common in Kaduna. Many express fear, if not checked, may lead to earth tremor, environmental hazard, and other health challenges on human lives. The question often asked by the people concerned is whether the drilling activities is left without regulations. In this report, Trust TV's Bella Musa examines the negative effect of indiscriminate drilling of boreholes on the environment and its social and economic implications. His report.
Borehole has become source of potable drinking water for many households in both rural and urban areas.
Drilling of borehole is rampant in everywhere. Almost every other household acquire borehole because people don't have any other option in trying to, get good and hygiene water.
But experts say rampant drilling of boreholes without study poses danger to the environment.
Excessive exploitation of water can result to a lot of things. One, it can cause tremor, and solid rocks are being on daily basis drilled. It weakens the subsurface structures.
For an individual who wants to drill a borehole in his house, he needs to come and apply for a permit from us. So we have to go and look at the site he wants to drill the borehole and ensure that the site is appropriate and is according to the regulations that are approved in the commission.
This well has been in existence for over 60 years. It has been a source of water supply to the community. The well is drying up now. The households are attributing it to rampant sinking of boreholes. The well is always filled up with water in both rainy and dry season. But with many boreholes around, it is drying up.
Now the wells are drying up because the boreholes development or the boreholes drilling are so rampant. Within 500 meters you can have 10 boreholes. So how do you expect water from a nearby holes to exist?
Kaduna State Water Services Regulatory Commission, saddled with the responsibility of water regulations in the state, says penalties are imposed for indiscriminate drilling of boreholes to address environmental hazards associated with it.
We normally get a report that some people are drilling borehole on the roads. Some people drill boreholes on roads. We go assess it, we warn them. Because regulation of the water sector is a new thing in the country. So you need to carry the people along, and we tell them the implications of doing that, and so on. But if a guy insists, that's why we approached the Chief Judge of Kaduna State. We visited the judiciary in Kaduna twice, and we're lucky the current Chief Judge has already assigned a magistrate court for us.
Those you call quacks, we co-opt them, retrain them very well so that they will know what the business is all about.
In the past, people drill about 40 meters to get water, and now people drill all to 180 meters and above to get water. Expert warns that if nothing is done to improve the public water supply and arrest the situation, Kaduna State may experience terrible environmental hazard in the future. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna. Borehole has become...
Federal government, through the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs and the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has distributed relief materials to the 2022 flood victims in Delta State. Jonathan Awenyi reports that the relief materials at the State Emergency Management Agency's warehouse were handed over to the state government for distribution to the victims. Now the report.
The 2022 flood disaster affected 17 out of the 25 local governments of Delta State. In the wake of the devastation, hundreds of homes, farmlands, schools, hospitals, and communities were submerged. Since then, the affected families have been left distraught. With this response from the federal government, things are beginning to change.
The federal government, through the President Muhammadu Buhari, has achieved that sense of awareness that it is important for the government to come to the aid of the people that were so affected by the flood, and hence we have flagged off these presidential palliatives that will be distributed to the people so affected.
Yes, the role of the state is to ensure that the materials will get to the beneficiary communities. Those are the areas that were actually impacted by the flood.
Expectedly, the Delta State government is full of praise. Receiving the items, the director of the Delta State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, says the materials will put smiles on the faces of the victims.
And we are at the state level hoping that this thing, like we have promised them, will be distributed as they have highlighted. And they already draw up a chart of the distribution profile. That is what we are there to, and ensure that these items get to the victims as requested.
More relief materials are expected in the coming weeks. Jonathan Awenyi for Trust TV News.
In another development, intending pilgrims from Katsina State are set for the 2023 Hajj exercise. The intending pilgrims have been vaccinated and received uniforms as well as bags preparatory to their airlift to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Abdullahi Ahmadu completes the report.
Officials of the Pilgrims Welfare Board in Katsina State were seen addressing intending pilgrims in Daura Zone, meant to make the first and second flights. Officials asked them to be good ambassadors of the state while in the Holy Land. The inaugural flight takes off on the 29th of May 2023. Therefore, I urge you to learn all what Hajj entails for you to have an acceptable pilgrimage. Don't carry anything prohibited in the Holy Land. The board will not take it lightly on anyone found wanting. Kindly help us to maintain the status quo as the best in Nigeria. Similarly, the intending pilgrims were told that the balance of $100 for each intending pilgrims has been deducted from the basic traveling allowance of each intending pilgrim. In view of this, each intending pilgrim from Katsina State is to collect $700 as their BTA instead of $800. The intending pilgrims were also directed to take COVID-19 vaccine, as only those who were vaccinated previously against the disease are exempted. The Holy Land is very strict on vaccinations. As such, for anybody performing this year's pilgrimage must be fully vaccinated. For us, we never relent in ensuring that all our intending pilgrims were vaccinated. The board announced that there are about 5,000 intending pilgrims from Katsina State that are expected to perform this year's pilgrimage in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia this year. Katsina is one of the few states in Nigeria that has been recording success of Hajj operations over the years. Abdullahi Izumai Amadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
You are watching Trust TV's News Hour, coming up shortly after the break. How sexually explicit materials generate ripples. For details of this and more, do stay with us after the break.
Now, as part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening...
Now, looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130...
Created a Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back. In case if you are just joining us, this is Trust TV's News Hour. Now we take a look at the recap of our top stories. Supreme Court dismisses PDP's suit challenging double nomination by Kashim Shettima. And government declare one Monday work-free day for workers as police deploy personnel to strategic locations, divert traffic in Abuja ahead of presidential inauguration. Moving on to more stories. Ahead of the May 29 presidential inauguration, Nigerian women have urged President-elect Bola Tinubu to enforce the national gender policy by allotting 35% of appointments in the public sector to women, as promised in his mandate. The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, at an intercessory proclamation in Abuja, noted that the call came on concerns about the underrepresentation of women in leadership positions and governance in Nigeria, with hopes that the incoming administration changes the narrative. The report.
The importance of gender mainstreaming in governance, role of women in socio-economic development, policy making, management and implementation, as well as constituting over 50% of the Nigerian population are needed to contribute meaningfully to nation building. But these women groups who have gathered to pray for a peaceful transition of the president-elect say they are assured he would adhere to these principles and rule of law.
Women have paid their dues in Nigeria. I want Mr. President and the Vice President and all the incoming governors to ensure that they engage more women, both at the national, state and local government level. Engaging more women is the true renewed hope, is the only surest way to a peaceful and prosperous Nigeria.
Nigerian women, at least 35% will be carried out on his administration. That is our expectations, that at least Nigerian women will be carried out in every program in every activities and also in government offices.
They noted that with the amount of women participation at the recently concluded 2023 general elections and preparedness for inclusion, women are more than ready to take on active roles in supporting the incoming administration for the greater good of the country.
We collectively came out, we casted our votes to ensure that we bring this administration.
We are much prepared. Women are so happy that at this very time, in this very new administration, incoming administration, women folk are going to be more inclusive. Of course, women are very happy and they can't even wait for it to manifest.
Despite the country's adoption of the National Gender Policy and other international instruments, the 35% affirmative action has not been achieved, and women continue to be marginalized in politics and decision-making processes. Like every Nigerian, the women hope that the incoming administration will usher in greater women inclusion in governance. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
In the meantime, the Delta State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Asaba has adjourned its pre-trial session till the 1st of June. Jonathan Awenye reports that Social Democratic Party candidate Kenneth Bagi is challenging the election of Obori Wari Sharif as governor of Delta State. The report.
The adjournment is to allow all parties to resolve all paper issues for hearing, as respondents 8, 9 and 10 in the suits were said not to have been served notice. Some lawyers described the plea of the SDP and its candidates to disqualify other candidates at the Delta State governorship election on March 18 as laughable. The SDP governorship candidate, Olorogu Kenneth Bagi, who is also one of his party's legal representatives, was the only candidate that appeared in court for the pre-trial session.
I told you before, this is a petition against all the respondents which you have brought to court. PDP and their candidates, APC and their candidates, ABGA and its candidates, and then Labour Party and its candidates. So we commence the pre-trial session, and as it is, because the 8th, 9th and 10th respondents were not served with notice, this pre-hearing could not continue, so it has been adjourned to the 1st of June for continuation of pre-hearing session.
The duty is on us to make sure we respect the judiciary. That's why we're here. And we've come here to pay our respect and show that, of course, we believe in the process.
I told you earlier that his petition is born out of mischief, because that is one of the grounds of his petition. So it should be noted the issue of qualification of Obori Wari has passed through the gamut of judicial circle, from the Federal High Court, Court of Appeal, and up to the Supreme Court. And it was further reaffirmed by this very Federal High Court and Court of Appeal recently that his qualification is valid. It went through proper trial, and they could not even lead any evidence to substantiate their allegations.
The tribunal sat at the Federal High Court too, Asaba, Delta State. Jonathan Awanyai for Trust TV News.
The 2023 elections have been concluded, with aggrieved parties currently in court to seek redress and legal interpretation based on the tenets of the Electoral Act and the Constitution. In this report, Trust TV's Sagir Ibrahim speaks with Nigerians on the 2023 post-election adjudication and their expectations. Take a look.
The respondents expressed confidence in the judiciary delivering fair judgment, especially with the new 2022 Electoral Act serving as a guideline to further strengthen the process.
I will say we hope that the right winner will be declared, even if it is the president-elect, if he's the winner. But I will say going forward, that law needs to be amended again, so that when there's an election, all election tribunal petitions should have been solved.
It depends. Those who approach the court, they should know that they have to have a valid point to prove their case. If you prove your case, the court will deliver justice. When they don't believe that they deliver justice, it means something is wrong one way along the line with their own side.
If they did well in Osun, they will do well in other ones. So I have confidence in the judiciary.
This group also held a peaceful demonstration in the capital city, Abuja. Their call is on the Election Petition Tribunal to grant fair hearing to all sides. Dr. Salahuddin Hashim, A public affairs analyst says Nigerians must put national interest first while believing that justice will prevail in the end.
At this point, the national interest must come forward. And then, of course, we must see the position of the judiciary that they are also major stakeholders, and that there is also a burden on them to be able to ensure that they institutionalize governance in a manner that help us to be able to advance further. Either way, whoever wins in court, of course, still has an opportunity for approaching the higher court to say, look, they want to vacate the judgment of the lower court until they get to the Supreme Court.
The 2022 Electoral Act provides that a petitioner intending to challenge an election result must file their petition within 21 days after the declaration of the election result, and an election tribunal has 180 days from the filing date to hear and determine an election petition, as any petition determined outside the 180 days period will be rendered invalid. Sagir Ibrahim, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Gunmen have killed the traditional ruler of Oroso Obodo in Oguta local government area of Imo State, Eze Victor Ijama. The traditional ruler was killed alongside the traditional prime minister of Isama of Mbele community in the council. Reports say the two traditional leaders were killed in two attacks in separate locations on Thursday evening. A source from Oroso Obodo said that the killers accosted the traditional ruler at Umuamaka Junction in the neighboring Izombi town and slayed him inside his car, setting his body ablaze. The traditional prime minister Mbele, whose name was not available, was said to have been killed in his town. Residents of the two communities have fled their homes for fear of further attacks. Police Public Relations Officer Assistant Superintendent of Police Henry Okoye told newsmen he was yet to be briefed on the incident. 12 suspected criminals have been arrested in Gombe over alleged offenses bordering on conspiracy, forgery, rape, armed robbery and house breaking. Parading the suspects at the headquarters of the Gombe State Police Command on Friday, Assistant Superintendent of Police Sharif Saad said the suspects were arrested by the police patrol team after receiving reports from members of some residents. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
These suspects are alleged to be involved in criminal conspiracy, forgery, armed robbery, rape and housebreaking respectively. Habu Muhammad Kabir and Ilya Amos are alleged to have forged identification card, receipt and stamp of Gombe State Internal Revenue. Habu Muhammad allegedly pretended to be a staff of Gombe State Internal Revenue Service and defrauded two people.
And on the 20th of May 2021, Habu Muhammad Kabir went to Hajj orientation camp at Gombe at Government Arabic Teachers College, Gombe, and presented himself to the staff and intended pilgrims as staff of the Internal Revenue Service deployed to collect revenue from intending pilgrims. Upon receipt of the complaint, detectives from Gombe Division swung into action and succeeded in arresting the suspect. During interrogation, the suspect, Habu Muhammad, confessed to have forged the agency's ID card, receipts and stamp and collected the sum of 30,000 naira from two suspects, that is 15,000 naira each, for registration.
The Gombe State Internal Revenue Service battles impersonation coupled with other impediments against its operations.
We have been encountering a lot of challenges in this domestic revenue mobilization. We have a lot of frustrations by members of the public who try as much as possible to bring about leakages, and one of these very areas of leakages is this area of fake receipting, impersonation and the likes of them.
The prime suspect of impersonation has confessed to the crime. I have regretted my actions, and when I am released, I will help the police to track down all impersonators in the name of the Gombe Internal Revenue. The command recovered cutlass, phones and a laptop from the suspected armed robbers who are terrorizing the state capital. All suspects will be arraigned in court as soon as the police conclude investigation. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
Karimjo community in Taraba State wants the state government to create a separate chiefdom from Wurukum chiefdom. This community made the request in Jalingo during a press conference, saying the history of the chiefdom was distorted by President of Wurukum in Karim Lamido local government area of Wilfred Habuba Kwanchi. The report.
The Karimjo Community Development Association, led by retired police officer Adam Bose, said the community have made frantic efforts to have their district and chiefdom since 1981 in the defunct Gongola state, and the then state government approved creation of chiefdom, but the government of Bamanga Tukur suspended all newly created chiefdoms.
Released by President Wurukum Community Development Association, Comrade Wilfred H.Y. Kwanchi. The attention of the Karimjo community has been drawn to a press statement released by the President of Wurukum Community Association, Comrade Wilfred H.Y. Kwanchi, who tells us some cheap lies and carnage to tarnish the good reputation of the Karimjo community.
Adam added that the Taraba State local government law passed in year 2005 did not see the light of the day. He also said that the government of Reverend Joli Inyame set up of a committee on creation of district chiefdoms and upgrading the existing district in Taraba State, but up to now, the dream remained unrealized.
In a word, you should understand, there is a word that afford this rate, other five. But Karim, who's the largest ward in Karim, with the population of people, even voter, we are the highest, but we are not given. And then they took up and marched with Karimbi. So this is where people are complaining. Why should a large people like this should be marched with another word?
Our people wouldn't have been killed like that, mercilessly. After the killings, displacement all come in. So we are convinced that those in the higher authority from the Wurukum side use their financial position and other influences they have to bring in other things to come and displace the Kalenjo and even kill the numerous people, different burning Kalenjo villages.
Ever before the division of Muri Emirate into Jalingo Habe and Jalingo Fulbe, the entire Kalenjo local government has two districts, i.e. Old Muri district and the Karim district. The Karim district was changed to Wurukum district in 1964. Since then, we were ruled by the Fulanis, and there were facts to all the sundry within the entire local government area.
The Karimjo community hailed the state government for appointing the son of late chief of Wurukum, Yakubu Aruna, as the new chief of Wurukum, calling on the state government to revisit the Karimjo memoranda on creation of separate chiefdom from Wurukum.
The Muslim Student Society of Nigeria has called on the federal government to ban primary and secondary school textbooks with sexually explicit material. In its letter to the Federal Ministry of Education, the society warns that sexually explicit material could corrupt the minds of Nigerian children. Hamid Oyebade files the report.
The Amir of the Muslim Student Society of Nigeria, B-Zone Kozim Odedeji, said some textbooks meant for children in primary and secondary schools contained sexually explicit materials. Odedeji said some of the textbooks promote abortion, masturbation, and immoral sexual behaviors.
There are things that are better left for the parents and the religious leaders to handle. So there are things that can unnecessarily sexualize our children. So issues bordering on abortion, issues bordering on safe sex, and some other things, lewd things like that. So we believe these children are too young to be exposed to this kind of information.
Some parents in Osun State agreed with MSSN, saying that sex education should be left for parents to handle at home rather than the school.
And in Islam, it is totally, abhorred that such subject should be made public discussion, even among the elderly, not to talk of children who do not know, anything yet. So to create such a impression in young minds like that is very, very deplorable.
Sex education should be taught at home, not in the school. The parents know the level of their children, because teaching them in the school, we made them to expose to some of these bad things.
When they taught the students in the class, the students may like to practicalize what they were taught in the class, so that after the school hour they may find somewhere to practicalize what they have been taught in the class, which can cause harmful to the children. So it should be left for the parents, not that it should be taught in the school.
The MSSN said inclusion of sexually explicit materials in the textbooks is a threat to morality of the children and an attack on cultural and religious values.
The first thing we want is that all these books that contain all these materials should be recalled from the market. So we want them to be recalled from the market so that they will not be in use again. So, and at the same time, we want the curriculum to be reviewed so that all those contents will not be necessary again. So, and we want the abolition of sexual education in our schools, in our primary and secondary schools.
The society is worried about the declining discipline, examination malpractices, and immorality, among other vices. Amid Ojiegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
Enhancing period dignity through sensitization and distribution of free sanitary pads, among other menstrual materials for teenage schoolgirls, will help inspire and ensure that they attend school while menstruating without suffering discrimination and discomfort. This is the position of menstrual hygiene advocates who are raising awareness about menstrual hygiene as a basic human right and seeking provision and access to support centers to ease the socio-economic and physiological burden. The report.
Ending menstrual period poverty and ignorance among teenage girls and women require immediate support that is crucial in breaking down barriers and promoting menstrual equity, hygiene, as discrimination among communities, schools, and social places have become the order of the day in some societies.
And we're bringing advocacy and using this opportunity to educate young girls about their menstrual cycle and how to keep their bodies healthy during those periods. And also stimulating stakeholders' commitment to stop the discrimination against young girls who are in their menstrual period. And more importantly, calling on establishment of menstrual hygiene support centers across all secondary, primary schools in Nigeria, so that these young people who may not have mastered their body system, who lose their confidence oftentimes when their menstrual period appears.
Menstruation period, whatever name they call it, is when a woman bleeds, and it happens every month. There are so many taboos to it, there are so many stories to it, but we realize a lot of girls feel discomfort during this period. A lot of them are body shamed, a lot of them are set aside. Some of them don't even come to school because they feel they are not clean enough.
So we educated them, we talked to them about their periods, how to check their period, their safe times, the body parts, and also for them to be aware and put different products they can also use for their menstruation.
The girl child is sometimes unaware of the changes that come with their physical development, but these advocates are helping to educate, sensitize, and distribute sanitary pads in a bid to prioritize menstrual hygiene.
This is very important because for girls child, because some of us don't know how materials that we can use on our period, and some people don't have money to afford it. This is like a way to help them to know what they should use, and they should be hygienic during their period. We should wash our hands, and we should maintain good personal hygiene during or when, even when we are not in our menstruation as a female child. we should always maintain good personal hygiene, even when we are saying our menstrual or when we are not saying our menstrual.
With about 300 girls in this school receiving free sanitary pads with soaps handed to boys to ensure cleanliness and good hygiene, stakeholders are working towards creating a community where no woman or girl has to face the challenges of period poverty alone. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
A flight belonging to Nigeria Air has touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika has been confident that Nigeria Air will fly before the tenure of Buhari ends. There have been controversies involved in the project, which is currently being challenged by domestic airlines. In an interview on Friday, Chief Executive of Aero Contractors, Captain Adu Sunusi, said the arrival of the aircraft did not translate into commencement of commercial operation by the airline. According to him, it is practically impossible for the airline to start commercial passenger operation in 2 days' time, given the rigorous process involved, which he believes will not be waived by the regulatory authority, the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority (NCAA), as the whole world is watching. And on the international news, the militant Al-Shabaab group on Friday morning carried out an attack on a Ugandan troops base of the African Union Transition Mission (ATMIS) in Bula Maria district in Lower Shabelle region in Somalia. The attack began shortly after morning prayers. It started with a large explosion believed to be an explosives-laden vehicle. Bula Maria is about 110 kilometers, an estimate of 68 miles from the capital Mogadishu. Residents reported that after the big explosion, 2 more explosions occurred in the camp before a fight started between the Ugandan troops and the attackers. Al-Shabaab said they captured the camp and killed dozens of ATMIS soldiers, but there has been no independent confirmation of the group's claim. ATMIS says its forces are currently assessing the security situation in the area, but no word yet from the Somali government regarding the attack. Ugandan Army spokesperson Felix Koleye told Kenya's Daily Nation that the military was probing the attack. He blamed foreign insurgents for the raid without giving further details. The actual damage caused by the attack is not yet known. Still on the foreign news, Fulgence Kayishema, suspected of having played a key role in the 1994 Tutsi genocide in Rwanda, was tried in court in Cape Town on Friday, 2 days after his arrest on a South African farm after being on the run for 22 years. The former fugitive is charged by the international justice with genocide, complicity in genocide, conspiracy to commit genocide, and crimes against humanity. Kayishema is 62 years old, who until his arrest was one of the last 4 fugitives wanted for their role in the genocide that led to the death of 800,000 Rwandans, most of them Tutsi, at the hands of Hutu extremists, appeared impassive in the dock. A stocky figure wrapped in a blue parka, bald and wearing thin glasses, the 60-year-old surrounded by armed officers wearing helmets and bulletproof waistcoats admitted that he was the man wanted by the court and the international police. He had been using the name Donatin Mbushoba. Spotted on a farm in Paarl, some 60 kilometers from Cape Town, he was arrested on Wednesday with the help of Interpol in South Africa. UN prosecutors announced on Thursday to cover his tracks. For the investigators, he is said to have benefited from the help of relatives and members of the former Rwandan Armed Forces and Forces Democratiques de Liberation du Rwanda, as well as people who adhere to the genocidal ideology of Hutu power. And now on sports news. Flying Eagles head coach Ladan Boso is expected to make changes in his starting lineup for Saturday's group to clash against Brazil. Boso's Eagles are already through to the round of 16 after victories against Dominican Republic and Italy. Brazil bounced back from their opening game defeat to Italy with a comprehensive 6-0 bashing of Dominican Republic. The Flying Eagles topped the group with 6 points, while Brazil and Italy are second and third with 3 points each. Both teams can still topple Nigeria on the standing, but Boso is unperturbed with that possibility. The encounter against Brazil, built for Estadio Único Diego Maradona in La Plata, will start at 7 p.m. Nigerian time. Jaylen Brown said the Boston Celtics set the tone from start to finish as they continued their comeback in the Eastern Conference Finals with a second straight win over the Miami Heat. They scored 16 three-pointers in a dominant 110-97 win to cut their deficit in the series to 3-2. No NBA team has ever previously rallied from 3-0 down to win a best-of-7 playoff series. With 21 points, Brown was one of 4 Boston players to score in double digits, with Derek White top scoring on 24. Marcus Smart added 23, while Jason Tatum also met 21. Duncan Robinson made 18 points for Miami, but talisman Jimmy Butler struggled to find his rhythm. Contribution only 14 points and sitting out most of the fourth quarter. 3-time NBA champions Miami need only one more win to reach its 7th NBA Finals and first since 2020, and will have the opportunity in Game 6 on their home court on Saturday. With that, we have come to the end of the Trust TV's News Hour. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms and our YouTube live stream. I am Abdurrahman Umar. Thanks for watching and bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.